As Teresa and Jake pulled into the driveway of the beach house, the kids seemed to wake up in unison and their excited screams started. They jumped out of the minivan as soon as it came to a stop. Teresa yelled after them to stay away from the water until their father could go in with them. Teresa didn't notice that the house looked like it was already open. She was too busy getting everything out of the minivan as quickly as she could so she could get to the grocery store, get back, and get organized. She sat at the table in the kitchen to double-check her list before leaving. Jake, already shirtless, was outside rounding up the kids to go swimming. As Mary and Miller made their way slowly up the driveway, Miller asked, "Mom, whose van is that?" Mary looked at the van and shrugged. "Probably Mrs. Boucher. She usually cleans on Fridays when someone is here." Mary got out of the car, opened the trunk, and started gathering bags. "Come on, kiddo, let's get these groceries in the house and put away." Mary looked up and started at the sight of Teresa standing on the steps in front of her. Teresa, sure she had everything on the list she needed, picked up the list and her keys, walked out the back door and came face to face with her sister, arms laden with grocery bags. "What are you doing here?" Teresa demanded. Mary was shocked. Teresa actually looked outraged that Mary was in her own beach house in her own odd year. Mary regained her composure. "Hello, Teresa. How are you?" Teresa folded her arms across her chest. "I said, what are you doing here?" "Teresa, it's her house," Jake said from the corner of the deck where no one had noticed he stood. "Mary," he said as he walked towards her, arms open wide to envelop her in a hug. "How are you? It's been too long." He turned to Miller, arms open. "Miller, look how you've grown." Miller took a step back. Mary spoke. "We're good, Jake. Mill, this is your Uncle Jake and Aunt Teresa. It's been a long time since you've seen them." "We're leaving," Teresa announced. "Teresa, stay. It's a big house," Mary answered quietly. "Jake, get the van loaded. We're leaving," Teresa shot back. "No," Jake replied. "Excuse me," Teresa glared at him. Jake stood up a little straighter. "I said no. Teresa, your sister just invited us to stay, so we're not going anywhere. It's high time you two spent some time together." "Oh, hell no," Teresa retorted. Jake stepped to Mary and took the bags out of her hands. "It's a big house, Teresa. Get over it. Mary, let me help you with these bags, and thank you for inviting us to stay." Jake opened the door and walked into the house with Miller following behind. Teresa and Mary stood rooted in the same spots, staring at each other. "Jake, are you just going to leave me here with her?" Teresa wailed. "You bet I am. Just like I told you at home. It really is time you grew up and got over your jealousy. We're here, Mary's here, you're going to handle it, and I don't intend to be the referee." With that, he closed the screen door. The two sisters stared at each other. Mary, who was cooler in a crisis than Teresa, made the first move. "Let's sit down out front and see if we can resolve some of this." "What's to resolve? As soon as Jake sees that I won't stay, we will leave you to your house." Teresa stood with her fists clenched and parked on her hips. "I've invited you to stay. The house is big. We're adults. We can work this out and behave like family. I'm sure that would please our parents." "Well, you've always pleased them no matter what you did." "Let's go sit down, and we can begin right there." Frankie was busily adding things to the boxes by the kitchen door and directing Miller and Gerald to grab this or that, adding even more items to the already stuffed boxes. Meanwhile, she continued chatting with Doc a mile a minute. Doc was amused with this friendly lady and what looked like her clan. Frankie said, "There's a box right here beside the door. If you can grab that, we can carry the rest of it out to your car." Doc was surprised and grateful for the large donation that this lady had prepared in record time, and he didn't hesitate to tell her. Ma'am, I am ever so grateful for this. We go through things like this so quickly, and since we're a volunteer organization, sometimes we just don't have the cash to buy everything we need when we need it. As they reached his Jeep, he heaved the box he was carrying into the passenger seat and directed them to set their armloads near the back. Frankie smiled. "Oh, heavens, you're most welcome, but call me Frankie." Doc offered her his hand. "Thank you, Frankie. I'm Travis Grayson, but everyone around here calls me Doc. Is this lovely young lady your sister?" he asked, looking at Miller. Miller burst out laughing, and Frankie gave her a playful swat on the arm. "Flattery will get you everywhere, Doc. This is my niece, Miller." Doc smiled at Miller. "Are you named after the island, Miller?" Miller blushed. "Yes, I am." "You look familiar. Do you go swimming really early every morning around here?" Travis laughed. "I wish I had time to, but no. I do swim a lot, but not every morning. I live on the bay side of the island, so when I do swim, I usually go to the public beach." Miller smiled. "You look like someone I've seen before." Doc laughed. "It's a small island. You could have seen me anywhere. The bakery, the surf shop, the market." He extended his hand to her. "Miller, it's nice to meet you." "It's nice to meet you, too." "Wait, there's a surf shop?" "Indeed. Blue Revival Surf Shop. Bob, the owner, also has a shop on Dolphin Island. I'm